Um, yeah, so I'm like I'm sitting I'm sitting at the Sadeh. My name's Talia Chain, and I started um a Jewish farm in about 2018. We're in Kent, in Orpington, just on the border of London and the countryside. Um, and yeah, I'll just tell you like a little bit about my background and then some things about Jewish agriculture. Which I feel like now I'm listening to, we're gonna have like a lot of like there's like obviously so much crossover between like different cultures, old stories. So I grew up in Northwest London. A lot of the Jewish community in this country, actually around the world, have become a very urban people, though we started really as an agricultural people like most peoples. And I never wanted to be outside. I hated camping. I didn't know that flowers didn't grow in the winter. I was really very disconnected from any, nature, anything. I went to school in London. I went to University College London. Like I really never thought I'd leave London, let alone end up on a farm. But I was bored one day at work and I decided to Google Jewish farms. My family are Orthodox, and so we keep the rules of the Sabbath, which means from Friday afternoon until Saturday night, approximately. We don't use money, we don't use electricity, we don't work. We do other things, and I just didn't. I was like interested in farms because somebody had said, do you know anything about where food comes from? And I was like, I know nothing. I'm quite an impulsive person. I was like, I could just find more out about this from a farm. And but it had to be Jewish because I didn't think any like regular British farmer would be okay with me being like on Friday afternoon, sorry, I actually can't do any of these tasks. So I actually came across one in America, amazingly, because America has a very big Jewish population. And I quit my job in fashion technology and went for 3 months to a farm where I was very sad and I cried for many weeks because they made me do manual labor in the rain. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So it was difficult. And I thought to myself, Talia, why don't you think things through before you do them? But after a few weeks, like even though it's cheesy to say, what happened was I had like a transformational moment where I just like was working in the rain, had to like so many acres that day, and we decided to do it because it was raining. We couldn't like irrigate the whole system, and I just woke up and I was like, oh my god, actually, I love this. It turns out like I loved working with my body. I loved the trust people had in me. Like, um, I'm a woman. I went to girls' school, and I think like growing up in the world like that, people treat you so differently. Like it was my brothers that used the power tools and they're crap at using them anyway. Nobody gave me a drill. But at this farm in America, nobody batted an eyelid about me being a woman. They were just like, great, you can do what anyone can do. Here's a shovel, dig a hole. And I like really rose to the challenge. And another amazing thing about it was this connection between me and my faith, which I had really moved away from my Jewish upbringing at university because I felt like the way that I was brought up was not like sitting with the new values I'd learned in university. And I was finding that tension really hard. And here, what I learned about was like the very strong Jewish roots in working, like being on the land, working in the land, connection to land that we have in our traditions. And though I knew a lot of them, for example, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Harvest Festival that we've got on Sunday night. I knew that it was a harvest festival, something to do with first fruits, but like I'd studied that in a classroom inside. I'd never put two and two together that, like, yeah, first fruits means that fruits aren't on the tree all year round. Like they come at a certain time, or I mean, it's not really a time for picking fruits from the tree, but fruits come at a certain time and you have to pick them during those times. I just had not added those two things together. And I was just so amazed that I could like engage with this, with like my religion and my traditions and um my upbringing, my community, it was everything to me really through this lens of like nature and stewardship really of looking after our planet. And that's also where I learned about like the climate breakdown and exactly what someone was saying about like seeds and the politicization of seeds and what that means for our food culture. And all of this I could look through with a lens that was already dear to me and important to me. And I was like, wow, the Jewish community does not know that it is within our own traditions to look around and be like, we should be looking after this planet. And I think like we need everyone, right? Like in this bid to look after our planet, we need everyone to be enrolled. We need every faith, we need every community, we need everyone. And so I was like, okay, well, here's somewhere I can start. And been really hard the last couple of years. Like there's been like obviously a lot of community breakdown, a lot of infighting, as people's political opinions have been polarized like across the world, and that also in my community. And meeting outside and sowing carrots and talking about our first fruits festival, it brings people together. We don't have to talk about the bigger things. We can just do things together. We can grow food, we can donate it to the food bank, we can have volunteer days and kids, and we run a fellowship for young adults, and we run loads of programs, retreats, whatever. People come in, be here together. For non-Jewish, for Jewish and non-Jewish people, like I live in my local community, there aren't Jewish people here. We're the Jewish people they know, so they're excited about it. Yeah, and just the last couple of minutes, I wanted to talk about this festival that's coming up on Sunday night. It's called Shavuot, and it's our first harvest festival. There's not much to harvest in the UK. Like this is a religion that came out of the Middle East, so the seasons are different. But there is elderflower, and the currants on our currant bushes are actually slightly turning red, and even we've had a few cherries. So we're going to put all of them in like a gilded basket. We've woven a basket out of willow and do a little parade and talk about how difficult it is really to get fruit and food out the ground, and like what a special thing that is, and what needs to happen with in order to so that we can keep doing that, and how we can make sure our farmers who grow our food for us are looked after, because nowadays they really aren't. And yeah, this like I guess my like Judaism gives me like a framework within which to do that. And I just want to say that like every people come from somewhere, you know, people have communities, and they, even if it's not a religion, it's like exactly what Rune said. Like there's traditions here in the UK, here in Europe, and it's those traditions I do really think can help us like respect the land and be excited about the changing seasons, and like working together to like glorify, I guess, those things for want of a different word, and just yeah, have a bit of gratitude and to our farmers and to the people that pick and pack and everything. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say.